Item number 6, recommend resolution approving MAPS 3 Transit Modern Streetcar Route Framework Project M3S003. David?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chairman. The subcommittee and staff and even the advisory board has worked very hard on getting to this point, so we're very happy to bring to you today the final route framework for the modern streetcar, and we have Mr. Lee Nichols here with Jacobs Engineering to give you a quick presentation on this.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to present the final route framework to you today. Also with me today is Mark Dorn with URS, and so there we go. What we're going to talk about today, I'll go over the project evolution to how we got to where we're at today, our evaluation process, the phasing and funding scenarios, the shortlisted conceptual routes, our recommended route framework, and then get a discussion briefly about the storage and maintenance facility evaluation and next steps. So back in 2006, this all started with the approval of the fixed guideway study, which was a study done through COPTA, which was the 30-year transit plan for Oklahoma City and the metropolitan area. Now, the plan recommended a series of transit alternatives, which included bus rapid transit, commuter rail, enhanced bus, and a downtown streetcar circulator. In 2008, COPTA began the alternatives analysis with Let's Talk Transit. This was a series of 7 public meetings that had about 300 participants and 1,100 online and in comments received from the public meetings. In 2009, the MAPS 3 election was approved. It was streetcar being on that election. In 2010, COPTA received the Tiger 2 planning grant, which helped look at items such as a health impact assessment, livability principles, to do some visualizations on the proposed streetcar, and that study is currently ongoing. 2011, the alternatives analysis wrapped up with approval of the locally preferred alternative. Many of you have seen this. It consisted of 2 routes, one out to the Health Science Center and a core route from Midtown to downtown and Bricktown. In 2012, we had the introduction of the completion of the study of the intermodal hub study, which recommended Santa Fe Station as the site for the intermodal hub. And also the MAP Streetcar Subcommittee recommended Concept 1 as their preferred route. So here we are today. Beginning of 2013, we began a fresh eyes route evaluation, and today we're presenting you the selection of the recommended route framework. So our evaluation, as I just mentioned, we started off with the locally preferred alternative in Concept 1. Then we conducted a fresh eyes look. We looked at downtown, we looked at many possible route alternatives within downtown, and came up with 8 potential route options. From those 8 route options, we conducted our evaluation and came up with 4 conceptual route options as our short list. From there, and that we presented that a couple months ago. In this past 2 months, we've had another second Fresh Eyes workshop. We've had a public meeting and also input from our subcommittee, and we refined our evaluation to get to today where we have our recommended route framework. And I'll turn it over to Mark.
I'm Mark Dorn with URS. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning. We're with the study of the different alignments. We're committed to still deliver the first phase for that budgeted of $104 million, or 94 actually for the streetcar, and then maintaining an allowance or a budget of $24.7 million for the phase 2 alignment. Oops, how come I went backwards? There we go. So Lee mentioned the 4 candidate routes that we identified after the first phase. Just very briefly, the The hybrid route was so named because it was a combination of some of our other candidate routes from the 8 that we were studying. Basically, it served, we identified the need to connect to the transit center as a very high priority, and it also served the heart of Midtown and some of the economic development, but one of the detractors was that it missed the Broadway automobile alley. The reverse LPA is essentially the same phase 1 that you saw before, but we through the utility investigation that was conducted a year ago, because of some of the major Trigen trunk facilities there, if you reverse the direction, we were able to avoid those impacts and costs. And so there was also some other factors with legibility that we thought reversing that direction would be more beneficial. But then we had the Zeta, which combined the benefits of connecting to the transit center and serving Automobile Alley, as well as serving the heart of Midtown. And through that initial review, we identified the Zeta Plus, which there was some questions of how important was it to serve the MAPS Park during that first phase. So those were the 4 candidates that we took to the second level of screening. And what came out is what we call our framework to continue into project development. It is the Zeta route, and essentially the reasons are because we are making the best. It is the route that best connects all the major destinations, including the downtown transit center and Automobile Alley and the intermodal hub and some of the MAPS projects as well. Traveling southbound on Robinson in the core of, or in the heart of downtown, so between 4th Street and Sheridan, that's where all the Trigen facilities are. If we're traveling southbound, we'll be able to avoid those impacts. We're 1 block away from the park. We feel that is sufficient for the phase 1, knowing that a phase 2 can complete that connection. There's also an added benefit that we're not, with the Zeta Plus, we actually surrounded the convention center site, which would add to complexity to its construction. And, because we're serving Automobile Alley and Midtown, we're really maximizing the ability to catalyze development. So the alignment is 4.5 miles of single track. Right now, we didn't do detailed cost estimates, but we actually projected the work done before on the alternatives analysis to come up with to make sure we're in the range, and we're projecting a cost of $99 to $109 million. But I've built 12 of these projects, and we're committed to meet that $94 million phase 1 budget, and we have a lot of tricks up our sleeves, a lot of lessons learned that we think we can accomplish that for you. We call this a framework because we're not quite done with the alignment selection. There's a couple options that we're carrying forward that we will study in the next phase of analysis. And essentially what they are is in the Midtown area. So south of Midtown, the alignment is pretty set according to our recommendation. That it'll be southbound on Robinson, turning into Bricktown on Sheridan, and then wrapping around and coming westbound on Reno, heading north on Hudson, serving the transit center, and then cutting to the east back to serve Midtown. So north of 4th Street, we'll be looking at 2 options, and one is to put 2 tracks on Automobile Alley and on Broadway, north of 4th Street, or to have a couplet, so northbound on Broadway and southbound on Robinson. So we'll be looking at such things as how it will integrate into the street, what will it look like, are there major utility impacts, we'll look at the costs, and as well as, are there any traffic impacts especially with the turns that go onto and off of the streets. The other option is how to serve the Midtown district, and one variation of the LPA that was advanced in 2011 was that the service was on 12th or 11th and 13th. And we actually pulled our alignment, if you look closely, we pulled that alignment just a little bit further south. We think there's more economic development potential on 10th. We want to make sure that we think there's a benefit to serve St. Anthony campus directly. And so the options we're going to look at are a couplet, so one track on 10th and the other track on 11th, and so that will be a loop as the streetcar terminates, and that could be clockwise or counterclockwise. And another option will be to have what we call the tail track option, where 2 tracks will turn onto 10th, head up to the circle at Walker, and terminate somewhere in that vicinity of where the traffic circle is. So those are our design options, and as you see, our cost projections for the operating are consistent with the LPA, which are in the $2.5 to $3 million a year. Lee, you want to talk about the main facility?
So in conjunction of studying the route alternatives, we also looked at potential areas for the maintenance facility. And some of the criteria we used to evaluate our maintenance facility sites is we looked at the alignment, how does the site relate to the alignment, the distance the track you have to build to get from the end of the line to the maintenance facility, traffic impacts, how does the location of the maintenance facility support future route extensions, the facility requirements, short-term and long-term requirements. We want to make sure the facility not only can accommodate what we're planning in phase 1, but also phase 2 and possibly future extensions down the road. Urban adaptability. How does the site fit into the urban context, the land use that's there existing today? How does it fit with the zoning requirements? Also, look at any cultural and historical impacts and try and make sure we avoid those with the site of the maintenance facility. And also real estate. Make sure there's no displacement of businesses or residents, and that the site does support economic development. Wrong button, wrong way. So we have narrowed down our sites. We have 4 potential areas for the maintenance facility. 2 are located in Bricktown, north of, in between the rail line and I guess it's the parking lot just north of ACOG and the Bricktown Police Station. There's a site to the east of Mickey Mantle and a site to the west of Mickey Mantle. A third site is just east of Lincoln, in between Lincoln and 235. And then our 4th site is down south by Dexter Union Station, which you can see could be accommodated, definitely fits into the future extension of the park, connection down to the park. So our next steps is to determine the vehicle propulsion, whether it's, there's a lot of discussion of whether the vehicle needs to be completely off-wire or is it an on-wire, off-wire vehicle. If it is, that's called a hybrid vehicle. So if it is a hybrid vehicle, where will those sections be where the vehicle is on-wire or they're off-wire? We need to finalize the storage maintenance facility location and begin design of that facility, and also get into preliminary engineering, which includes looking at those design options and refining those and coming up with the final route. Then we get into rail and vehicle procurement and develop an economic development plan for the corridor itself. So once we have the preferred route, is develop an economic development plan for that route to how the city can entice and spur the economic development, and then get into phase 2 route planning to see where that second phase is going to go. So with that, we'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.